Hi, everybody. I'm Jonathan from Boredom Sated.
And I'm Boris from Boredom Save It.
Today, we are going to continue our creature comparison series, and we are going to go into a creature type that we like, and we're going to start with one of the basic ones of this type, and it is the Golem. We're going to start with the Flesh Golem. The reason to start with the Flesh Golem is because in a lot of games, the Flesh Golem is the lowest level golem. And also because the Flesh Golem has a couple of different connotations in history. And the most common concept of it is the Flesh Golem is a flesh being brought back to life, or a flesh being with magical power brought into it to make it so that it would be given life.
Oh, it's October. Just say it. It's Frankenstein monster.
It's trying to be at least a little subtle, just a little.
Oh,
So yeah, the Flesh Golem is the concept behind the Frankenstein's monster. And it is October, so we thought that it would be a good idea to do the Flesh Golem. Now, the word golem itself comes from early Judaism. It is mentioned in the Talmud, it is mentioned in the Bible. The concept of a golem is generally a raw material thing that is unfinished. It's mentioned in the Bible as an unfinished human before God's eyes. It's generally thought of being made of clay. There are clay golems. We may talk about those again in the future.
yes.
Obviously, the golem in later times was thought of more as a Jewish creation. And in fact, if you go with the 1930s or 1920s movie, it was probably something that looked like it was a snuff film, because the Jewish man created a golem, and the golem went and killed people. So
Yeah. Yeah.
but at the same time, the concept of the golem in D&D terms and in the more recent terms, we usually think of as a magical creation, a magical construct that was created that has incredible magical power, and usually other magic cannot penetrate.
Yeah. Now, I'll just jump into it and say that when we were comparing between Pathfinder and D&D, we found out that at least at the Flesh Golem, other than a couple of role-playing additions from Pathfinder, which tried to do, and it's really rare to not have that. They're pretty much exactly the same. I mean, other than a different um, level in the creature, they have the same weaknesses, same strengths, same attack types. They're resistant to the same. It's pretty much the same exact creature.
Yeah, and that's good. Here are the couple of differences. First of all, we should go over what the special attacks are. And
Yes,
second, I want to go over one of the major differences. First of all, the CR for the creatures are close. I believe it's 5 and 6 respectively.
5 and 8.
5 and 8. Okay, so in
Eight.
five it's
Yeah,
Pathfinder, it's 8, and in D&D it's 5. Now,
yeah,
one major thing that you've got to realize about this, and this is a big deal in my opinion at least, is that in Pathfinder it has an AC of 26 at level 8. Now, this isn't a super high, but it's also not super low. In D&D, in D&D it has an AC of 9. So it is a
yeah.
below average AC, even for a CR anything. For a CR
Right.
0, it has a low AC. And
Yep.
that's part of the concept of the fact that it is a stitched together creature. It is not fast. It is not. It's an unmoving moving monster. It's a CR5 with an AC of 9 and over 90 hit points. So
Yep.
for its level, it has a very very high hit point pool. Special ability wise, Berserk is a really cool one.
Yep. And the same thing. It has Pathfinder has Berserk, and
So what is
it's
it?
the same, almost the exact same chance of it happening. And it happens at the same point when they both have 40 or fewer hit points.
Okay. So I was trying to get you to explain what it did,
Oh, the
but
berserk.
I will
Yeah,
just
yeah.
do that.
No, no, the berserk just if it goes berserk, it attacks any, no matter what it is, the closest living creature. If there is no living creature within its movement range, it will attack an object, preferably an object that is smaller than it. But it must attack something as if it goes berserk.
So in D&D at least, it also has the creator has the ability to calm it down if it's within 60 feet. It can make a DC 15 Charisma Persuasion check in order to calm it down so that it will go do the other things. But it's a neat idea to be able to
Yeah.
put that in there. Now, obviously, it's a flesh golem. If you think about Frankenstein, what's the one weakness you think of when you think of Frankenstein?
Fire.
Fire bad. Exactly. So fire bad. So it has disadvantage on attack rolls and ability checks until the end of its turn if it takes fire damage. In Pathfinder, I'm sure it's just
It's
weak.
exactly the same. It takes. I mean, it takes equivalent to what an 8th level creature should be taking from something that it's vulnerable to.
Yeah, which makes sense.
Yeah.
Um,
And when you think of Frankenstein, what do you think is good for it?
Electricity.
Yeah.
So it's got lightning absorption, electricity resistance.
And in Pathfinder, it also has if it gets hit by electricity, it has a triggered attack where it can try to grab or grapple somebody near it and shock them for 3d6 electrical damage.
Whereas the Flesh Golem in D&D, if you hit it with electrical damage, it will heal for the amount of damage dealt instead of take it.
Well, it will heal too in Pathfinder.
Other than that, all golems are usually magic resistant. In fact, the way that I think of a golem is usually it's magic immune, but the Flesh Golem is not immune, it's just resistant. It is immune to any spell that will try to alter its form. It is immutable, and the attacks that it makes are magical. But that's all that you really get from it. But it's a 5th level creature, so it's not something you would expect to have a super large number of abilities for D&D.
Right. Now, the one interesting aspect that Pathfinder has, it does have when you defeat a golem, you could get certain the treasure is itself. And they do describe a little bit of what a party can grab from a golem so that they can sell. Flesh Golem, they say, is usually frowned upon, so the only thing you should really be able to get is its internal wiring and metal items that are inside, and that's about it. The other role-playing aspect that they put in for Flesh Golem, which I really like, is that sometimes if the brain of a flesh that is put into it is a powerful personality, that the personality does come out, in minor manners. So it really does give you a chance to have a Frankenstein. Yeah.
Yeah, it gives you the opportunity to actually have a Frankenstein's monster.
Yeah.
Or, Frankenstein's monster, like in some of the movies where they decide to give him a personality where he doesn't want to hurt people, where he can be a good person. And that gives you some definite options for use of the Flesh Golem in a campaign. You can use the Flesh Golem as a sympathetic character, or, of course, all golems can be used by powerful wizards or powerful alchemists in order to be able to be something incredibly powerful to defend itself with. Usually that's very immune to magical abilities. So preparing for golems is very difficult for a lot of character classes.
Yes, definitely. So overall, I think both golems, respectively, in my mind, are equal. The role-playing aspects are very nice, but you can add that to both D&D and Pathfinder. You don't have to just leave it in the Pathfinder because it's recommended. So this is one of the few creatures that we've done that I think is equal in both. No one is better than the other.
We've done a few that we agree that are basically equal. I agree in general. I think they're pretty much equal. there isn't a lot more information in the Pathfinder than in the D&D, like there usually is. For what they usually do for it, they're both pretty good. Honestly, I like the flavor. I like the flavor of having the very low AC and very high hit points, where the Pathfinder version does not do that.
Right.
And I like that, making it so I personally like the flavor of the D&D one a little bit more. But the role-playing aspects that are put in, again, with the personality, suggesting that, like, I wouldn't necessarily have thought to do that in a D&D campaign unless I was trying to go with a monster-based D&D campaign. So that does bring an additional concept to it. So that brings me back to even, but monster-wise, I like the D&D version a little more, but the flavor is nice to have for Pathfinder.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Yeah.
So that's basically our thoughts on it. We will probably go ahead and do another golem relatively soon, a different type of golem, because flesh golems are usually among the weakest golems you see. We're probably going to go with something a little bit scarier next time. And by scarier, of course, I mean scarier for the players, not necessarily scarier in concept. Because a flesh golem, if you see a giant amalgamated flesh thing coming at you that's not feeling and not caring, that's scary.
But in D&D, it's not that scary.
But in D&D, it's not that scary. Yeah. So, till next time, tell us our normal stuff. Go ahead.
Yeah, please subscribe, like, tell us what you like. Please ask your friend to subscribe and take a look. They could find this interesting. Maybe write us which monsters you would like us to do a comparison to. We're willing to do anything you guys recommend. And this is Boris from Boredom Sated.
I'm Jonathan from Boredom Sated. I hope you guys had fun. We'll see you next time.